Asia's youth are rising, demanding democracy and an end to corruption. From Kathmandu to Dhaka, they defy authoritarian rule, using social media to organize without fear. These leaderless movements aren't just revolts. They're a generation's bold push for freedom, transparency and justice. The future of democracy in Asia hangs in the balance. Something extraordinary is happening across Asia. From the streets of Kathmandu to the universities of Dhaka, from the beaches of Colombo to the temples of Yangon, young people are rising up against their governments with a fury that recalls the Arab Spring of 2011. But this is different. This is the Asian autumn. In Nepal this week, the unthinkable happened. The wife of former Prime Minister Jalanath Kanal died after being burned alive when protesters set fire to her home amid violent anti-government demonstrations. The image is horrifying, yet it captures something profound about the rage consuming this generation across South Asia. Prime Minister KP Sharma Oli stepped down after what began as protests against a social media ban spiraled into nationwide chaos that left at least 22 people dead. As reported by Reuters on September 9th, Nepal's army has seized national security control following Oli's resignation amidst violent anti-government protests. But Nepal is merely the latest domino to fall in what increasingly appears to be a coordinated generational revolt sweeping across the world's most populous continent. The pattern is becoming unmistakable. Young people, armed with smartphones and encrypted messaging apps, can topple governments faster than traditional political opposition ever could. Consider the velocity of change. In Bangladesh last year, Sheikh Hasina's seemingly unshakable 15-year rule crumbled in weeks. Student protests over job quotas morphed into a nationwide uprising that killed over 300 people. The BBC reported on August 6th last year that the worst single day claimed more than 90 lives as protesters stormed government buildings and Hasina fled to India. Sri Lanka's 2022 uprising revealed the template. Economic collapse triggered mass protests that saw demonstrators literally swimming in the presidential pool and lounging on the presidential bed. Port worker Udeni Kaluthantri became an overnight sensation when he told the BBC,
"I took the presidential flags away because I thought Mr. Rajapaksa wouldn't be able to act as president without those official symbols."
President Gotabaya Rajapaksa fled to Singapore and resigned, becoming the first Sri Lankan president to be driven from office by popular revolt. Myanmar's military coup in 2021 inadvertently accelerated this trend by demonstrating to young people across the region that democratic institutions could vanish overnight. The ongoing resistance there, marked by silent strikes and sustained civil disobedience, has become a masterclass in leaderless resistance that other movements study and emulate. Thailand's 2020 protests shattered perhaps the most sacred taboo in Southeast Asian politics by openly criticizing the monarchy. Students posted the hashtag #WhyDoWeNeedAKing more than 1 million times, fundamentally altering the political conversation in a country where such criticism was previously unthinkable. The economic mathematics driving this upheaval are stark and getting worse. Youth unemployment in Nepal stands at 20.8%. In Bangladesh, 18 million young people compete for jobs while university graduates face higher unemployment than those without degrees. Across the region, the demographic dividend has become a demographic time bomb.
The anger against the government and the ruling party has been accumulating for a long time. People are showing their anger now. People resort to protest if they don't have any recourse left.
What makes this wave particularly ominous for established governments is its viral, leaderless nature. These movements can mobilize tens of thousands within hours using social media platforms that governments struggle to control or understand. When Nepal tried to ban social media platforms, it only accelerated the protests. When Bangladesh cut internet access, protesters used mesh networks and satellite connections to coordinate. This Asian autumn represents something unprecedented in world history: the collision of ancient political grievances with cutting-edge digital organizing tools. The result is a form of political mobilization that can overwhelm traditional state capacity within days or even hours. The generational dynamics are crucial to understanding what comes next. These protesters are not seeking reform within existing systems. They are demanding a fundamental transformation of how power operates. In Myanmar, 2 years after the coup, resistance continues despite brutal military crackdowns that have killed more than 2,900 people. The UN reports that 1.5 million people have been displaced and 15 million are dangerously short of food, yet the resistance persists. The symbolism of occupation has become central to these movements. In Sri Lanka, protesters didn't just demand the president's resignation, they literally moved into his residence and claimed the symbols of state power. In Bangladesh, crowds stormed Hasina's official residence after her flight, with reports of looting and destruction that sent a clear message about the complete rejection of her authority. Thailand's protests introduced another crucial element: the willingness to challenge previously untouchable institutions. When students there demanded monarchy reform and constitutional changes, they broke barriers that had constrained Thai politics for generations. Their slogan, "We want a true democracy," became a rallying cry that echoed across the region. The violence in Nepal this week suggests these movements may be entering a more dangerous phase.
While the main trigger for the protest was the recent social media ban, the long history of corruption and bad governance is the main reason that thousands of people have come out on the streets to protest. It was overwhelming to see such a huge turnout and the energy and anger of the people.
What happens next may determine the future of democracy across Asia and beyond. Will these movements create sustainable democratic institutions, or will they simply cycle through periods of chaos and authoritarian backlash? The experience in Sri Lanka offers a sobering lesson. A year after toppling Rajapaksa, many protest leaders found themselves in prison while the old political class gradually returned to power. But the genie cannot be returned to the bottle. A generation has discovered its power to topple governments through sustained mass action. They have learned to organize without traditional leadership structures and to use technology in ways that make them nearly impossible to suppress. Most importantly, they have lost their fear of state authority. The implications stretch far beyond Asia. In an interconnected world, successful youth movements inspire copycat actions across borders. The tactics pioneered in Bangkok are refined in Dhaka and perfected in Kathmandu. Each success emboldens the next generation of protesters while teaching them more effective methods of resistance. The Asian autumn may be just beginning. With economic inequality widening, climate change increasing social stress, and authoritarian tendencies spreading across the region, the conditions that fuel these movements are intensifying rather than diminishing.